I was only 10 when my mother remarried and moved us from Onitsha to Nnewi. Life had been hard after my father died. We barely had enough to eat, and I could still remember nights when my mother would go to bed hungry just so I could have a bowl of gari. So when she met Uncle Mike, tall, charming, and soft-spoken, I hoped for a new beginning. Uncle Mike had a shop that sold motorcycle parts and lived in a compound house with his mother. At first, things were okay. He brought home food, helped me with my homework, and even called me his little princess. My mother seemed happy for the first time in years. She laughed more, sang while she cooked, and her face looked younger. But everything changed after my mother gave birth to his son, Chidera. Suddenly, I became invisible. Where once he would ask me how school went, now he barely looked my way. Where once he called me princess, now he barked orders: sweep the floor, clean the toilet, wash your brother's clothes. My mother noticed, of course, but she was too tired to fight. Chidera didn't sleep well as a baby, and she was always nursing him or boiling hot water. The first slap came one Saturday morning. I had mistakenly broken a plate while washing dishes. Before I could explain, he raised his hand and struck me so hard I saw stars. I ran to my room and cried silently into my pillow. That was the day I realized I was no longer just invisible. I had become unwanted. I tried to tell my mother. He beat me, I whispered one night while she bathed Chidera. She froze. Her eyes held 1,000 thoughts. He was just angry, she finally said. Try not to provoke him. I felt something inside me wither. From that day, his cruelty grew bolder. If I didn't wake up before 5 a.m., he would pour cold water on me. If I didn't return from school quickly enough, he would lock me outside until midnight. He once made me kneel on the gravel in front of our house because I forgot to fetch water. The neighbors watched but said nothing. In Nnewi, people mind their business unless blood is involved. One day, I got my period for the first time. I didn't know what was happening. I hid in the bathroom crying, using tissue paper from school to block the blood. My mother was at the market, and Uncle Mike noticed I hadn't cleaned the compound. He dragged me out, not caring that I was bleeding through my dress, and shouted, "Useless girl." Like mother, like daughter. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the cracked ceiling and asked God if he still saw me. But the story doesn't end here. It was on a rainy evening when thunder roared and the sky wept that something happened which changed the direction of my life forever. Something that even now, years later, I find hard to say without shaking. The rain started as a drizzle that evening, soft, steady, like a whisper from heaven. I sat by the wooden window frame, hugging my knees, watching water gather in the potholes outside. The thunder rolled gently in the distance, and for a moment, I hoped the night would bring me peace. But peace, for me, never lasted in that house. Uncle Mike returned from his shop earlier than usual. His steps were heavy, his face darker than the clouds overhead. He reeked of alcohol, the bitter palm wine smell that always signaled danger. "Why didn't you warm the soup?" he barked as he threw his wet umbrella to the floor. "I didn't know you were coming early, sir," I replied softly. "Did I tell you to talk back at me?" Before I could finish blinking, he grabbed a belt from the chair and whipped it toward me. I screamed, stumbled back, and fell against the wall. My mother came running out with Chidera strapped to her back, begging him to stop. "Please. Please. She's just a child." But he wasn't listening. His eyes were red, his voice louder than the thunder that cracked the sky. He raised the belt again. And that's when I ran. I didn't think. I just ran barefoot, into the rain, past the compound gate, through the muddy road. My gown stuck to my skin, and the wind slapped my face, but I didn't stop. I ran as if my life depended on it because it did. I don't know how far I went. But I remember falling at the doorstep of Mama Chinai, a retired nurse who once gave me paracetamol when I was sick. She opened the door, shocked to see me soaked and shaking. My God! Nnewi, who did this to you? I couldn't speak. I just burst into tears. She pulled me inside, wrapped me in a dry wrapper, and made me sit near a coal pot. Then she called my schoolteacher, Miss Gloria, the only adult who ever noticed the sadness I carried around like a shadow. Within hours, everything changed. The next day, Miss Gloria came with two officials from the Ministry of Women Affairs. They listened as I finally told my story: the beatings, the cold water, the kneeling on gravel, the day I bled and was humiliated. I saw horror in their eyes. But I also saw something else: belief. They believed me. By evening, my mother came to see me. She cried more than I had ever seen anyone cry. She knelt down, begged me to forgive her. She said she had tried to protect me but felt trapped. She was scared. She had no one, no job, and another child to feed. Uncle Mike was the provider and the tormentor. I held her hand. I didn't blame her, not yet. I just needed space to breathe. The ministry made arrangements. I was placed with a foster family that worked with a non-governmental organization supporting abused children. For the first time in years, I had my own bed, my own notebooks, and food I didn't have to beg for. It wasn't easy. I had nightmares for months. I flinched at loud voices and avoided people who raised their hands too quickly. But I began to heal. Slowly. I started writing in a diary Miss Gloria gave me. Every page became a space where I released pain. Over time, those pages turned into poems, then essays, then articles. My story, once a wound, became a weapon. Years later, I would speak at an event in Akka for teenage girls, sharing my journey. I would become a published writer, a voice for the voiceless, and a fierce advocate for child rights in Anambra. Uncle Mike was eventually arrested after more testimonies came from other girls he had tried to intimidate in the neighborhood. My mother moved out and started a small provisions business with help from the NGO. We are healing slowly, but truthfully. To every child suffering in silence, you are not alone. You are not what they say you are. You are not weak. You are not worthless. You are a flame. And flames may flicker, but they never forget how to burn. Nnewi gave me pain. But it also gave me purpose.